Hey, what's going on, man?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going well. I appreciate you for showing up, man. So, everybody that's here, we are here with Ben from Zero Citizen. So, shout outs to Ben, man.
Hello. Yeah, thank you very much. And it's great to be on the show with you, Atlanick, and thank you very much for this opportunity.
Yeah, no problem. And if you guys are wondering about the background, this is some of their artwork, and I think it's just amazing. So, threw it in the background to show everybody.
It's a solid look behind you. I was
So,
just saying earlier, it's probably one of my favorite pieces that we've got out there. It's just got that real rustic
yeah,
look. Yeah,
no, your artwork looks incredible.
thank
I'm
you very much.
definitely going to have some questions about that, but maybe for some people that don't know Zero Citizen, what's a quick little intro about Zero Citizen?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So fundamentally, we're linking the blockchain and the real world by offering the tools and incentives to support the net zero initiative and help combat climate change first and foremost. Um, in terms of the tool side of things, so we've got a carbon emissions calculator, and essentially individuals, businesses, as well as projects and SPOs on the blockchain can use a calculator to calculate the carbon footprints and then use our carbon balance service to become carbon neutral. In terms of the incentives, that's sort of twofold, really. There's a monetary incentive, which will be rewarding the end users of zero carbon products and services. So that would be solar panels, EV chargers installed in your home, electric bikes using 100% renewable energy. And then there's the market incentive as well. So that's also twofold. So that's on off chain first and foremost. It's the normal digital certification to show that they've reached carbon neutrality, but also quite sort of excitingly on chain is where sort of we're looking at offering like most of the market incentives. So those that are verified carbon neutral, they'll be given an NFT of sorts to hold for the period that they're covered for. And the idea is that in holding sort of these NFTs, they'll gain exclusive access and discounts to any sort of partners and like metaverses that we're working with. So that's the plan for that. But what I will say as well is that we're not just a case of like calculate, we'll take the money and run sort of thing. It's very much an education support side of it. So those that do use our carbon balance service will be offering them suggestions as to renewable energy providers in their country, and also in terms of the education, we'll be sort of showing them how they can reduce the carbon footprint overall. So by the time they come around again to calculate the carbon footprint, it should be a lot lower and cost them less then. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
And so I know you guys chose Cardano because, Cardano proof of stake and all of that. But now that Ethereum is proof of stake, would you guys have considered maybe going on to Ethereum as well? Or
Well, I mean, Cardano was very much we didn't just dive into it. It was, we looked at all the options. There's like Solana, even sort of Luna at the time, Terra Luna, and Cardano just really stood out in terms of like the scalability side of things. Like the gas fees, like stability as well. Obviously, that's a main factor. But yeah, I mean, in terms of the growth and where we're looking, what we're doing is absolutely something that can be like cross chain as well. So yeah, it is something that we're looking at. But first and foremost, we are Cardano and proud. Yeah.
gotcha. So how many people do you have on your team right now?
So we have like a core sort of team of four really. Got marketing manager Jar, and then we've got Mark and Mason as well, and then we've got some mods as well. So in total, we're running at about probably about 7 or 8 or so. So
Okay.
yeah.
And after the mint, are you going to try to expand that team at all?
Yeah. I mean, as long as it all goes well, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely, that's a plan because first and foremost, we are a token company or project. So yeah, we are like fully doxed and registered in the UK as a company, but yeah, we are a token company. So the NFTs obviously coming first. Well, I mean, this is a bit of an exclusive, but we are actually doing a dual mint. So we'll be minting the NFTs and some tokens together at the same time. and
Okay.
the tokens could be sort of like 10 ADA worth, or it could be sort of maybe 500, maybe 1,000 ADA worth, depending for the lucky few. So yeah, that's how we're approaching it. But
Gotcha. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up your Discord, and then I'm going to follow along with Discord, and we'll also check out the white paper a little bit because it
okay,
just kind of helps me flow through all my questions.
sure.
So, so we'll start off in the About Us section. So you
Okay.
guys are all fully doxed,
Yeah.
and now you guys, are you doxed like yourself, or did you use a service to dox?
I mean, yeah, we just doxed ourselves. So on the website we have our like Twitters, our LinkedIn pages, and that. So we've never tried to sort of disguise ourselves or anything. We there's companies out there that do offer that service, and if there's benefits to us also using the service, we will. But we're quite happy to sort of dox ourselves.
Gotcha. I think that's like the old school way, and that's the way I like it too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of services that'll offer the big, yeah, they verified everything's correct, but then if they have a rug, we don't ever get that information, and it's like, well, what was really the point,
Yeah, and
So
I do think there is benefit to it, but it's I mean, if you can sort of do as we're doing now, and being live on a video, let's say that's more ideal, I guess.
yeah. And so I've been wondering too, how is it possible to achieve net zero? Is there like a formula that kind of calculates everything?
Yeah, I mean, so the way in which it works is like, you can think of it as a set of scales. So on the one side, you got people that are coming in using our calculator, and that'll sum up their carbon footprint in terms of like CO2 emissions. And the way in which, because we are developing our own carbon credit system as well, and it's all going to be like fully accredited, fully obviously transparent, no greenwashing. So yeah, in terms of that carbon credit system, there's two sort of three main approaches to it. So we have the carbon sequestration. That's the natural capture of CO2 through trees, seagrass, etc. And we're currently partnered with Veritree for that side of things, and also looking to expand as well. The second one is we're developing a green investment portfolio. So that'll be using funds and investing it in like wind farms, solar farms. And that's, in terms of like business sustainability for us, but also, importantly, tackling climate change. And then the third one is our net zero reward system, which is our sort of quite niche, novel approach to it. And, in a nutshell, like I said before, that's us rewarding the end users of zero carbon products and services. But what that's actually doing is we're purchasing from those end users the carbon emissions that have been avoided. So in terms of the carbon credits we'll be creating, it's the carbon sequestration and the carbon avoidance from the green investment portfolio and the net zero reward system. So all those together will be, collating those carbon credits and then managing them to balance off those that use our calculator. And then, once they've been used fully, they'll be retired. So it's a case of just like using and balancing off, and that's the sort of net zero approach.
Gotcha. So if you're somebody who uses, I don't know, let's say like a diesel truck, and you drive cross country all the time, would you just have to spend like a lot of money to, donate, I guess, to make more trees or to make more grass or whatever it is to try to offset?
Yeah, in a nutshell, I mean, it's very sort of, there's quite a few calculations that's involved in terms of like electricity, heating, and just say like whether they travel in a diesel truck and use planes, and there's all that sort of factored into it. But if you do live quite a sort of heavy lifestyle in terms of emissions, then it will cost more to balance that. But as I said, we're very much also of the opinion that education is a key part of that, and showing where it can be reduced is like a really important part of it.
Gotcha. And does Veritree say where their trees are planted?
Yeah, so Veritree are actually really good. They have like digital maps like that you can see through the pages. So wherever someone's planting in Indonesia, Madagascar, which is where we're looking at the mangrove side of it, that's all showcased on their website, so you can see exactly where your sort of little part of the forest has been planted, which is really
That's
cool.
really cool.
Yeah.
before I came on, I was looking up. I was like, do certain trees, do they grow faster in certain areas? And I found out if you're close to the equator, they grow way faster than if you were, on like one of the poles,
Yeah, sure.
So
Yeah.
that's pretty crazy. That's it's cool to think about.
It is. It is.
So let's keep going. Let's see. It mentions Okay, so do we know which percentages are going to be donated for the planting of the trees and which percentages are going to go into your investment portfolio and then into the reward system?
So at the minute, it's not been fully determined, and neither has the price either. Once we've established the price inside of it, then we're gonna essentially publish where all the money is going to go. So that will be like fully available. But yeah, in terms of the agreement with Fairytree, we're for every NFT we sell, essentially we're going to be planting 4 trees. So looking at like 22,000 trees there.
Okay. And then for the investment portfolio, it says that that's going to provide annual returns on investment. And I was wondering, is that going to be through dividends, or are you going to have to be selling and then, dividing kind of in that way?
Yeah, that needs does need clarifying. So that's like in terms of for us and our business sustainability side of it. We're very mindful of not sort of making it clear that this isn't like an investment side of like for NFTs. It's not a dividends that we'll be sort of paying out. It's just that's more in terms of for us to show that we're thinking about the long term approach as a company. Yes, that's obviously a big thing for us.
Gotcha. So just to be clear, this might not necessarily be used every year to give back to the holders, right?
Yeah, so it's not there's not a direct correlation. In terms of like airdrop side of things, it's very much a case of that is what we are absolutely looking at, but we won't make a direct link because then you get into the murky waters of like say dividends and all that side of things that we want to steer clear of. So
right, yeah, I know sometimes you have some investments too and they're doing really well, but it's like, well, we still expect them to do really well, so we don't really want to take profits yet and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So now we're getting into NFTs, but I wanted to show the white paper for that. So let me pull over the white paper and we'll go all the way to the top. We'll scroll down. There's the overview. And then trying to see where these questions line up exactly. I think.
Sure.
Sorry about that. So the roadmap, mint 0 citizens NFTs. So this is going to be in Q4. Do we have an exact date, an exact price for these yet?
Yeah, so we're right in the middle of sort of updating the white paper and the roadmap. So it was going to be sort of early December, but we've decided to push it back and align it with our token mint so we can do it at the same time. There's a couple of reasons for that, but I mean, just overall, it just made more sense for us, and it gave us a bit more time. And in terms of marketing, we felt like it would stand a better chance as well if we do it than both together.
Okay, but there's no price set yet and no exact date?
No price set yet. No, I mean, we're looking at sort of around the sort of 70 to 88 mark, aiming for like the lower side of that. But yeah, I mean, in terms of the date, we are looking at about the first week of February. That's what we're looking at a minute.
Okay. Wait, so first week of February for the mint date?
Yeah, so that does need updating the roadmap side of it. So that's going to be sort of published end of this week. Is the sort of plan for that.
Okay, and I'm assuming this whole Q4 will probably be pushed to Q1.
Yes, yeah. But we're trying to not push as much of the Q1 and Q2 back as possible. So we're still aiming for the calculator towards the end of Q1, and everything for us should fall into place like at the end of Q1, early Q2. That's the plan for it all.
Gotcha. And there's some questions about the mint tokens, but I'm going to wait until we get a little bit into that because it's easier to follow along.
Sure.
So with this carbon emissions calculator, that's kind of just like your carbon footprint. You'll be able to, like we spoke about earlier, we'll be able to put in truck. I drive, X amount of hours, and I would need to reach a certain level to get 0 emissions, essentially. And would it also show you how much you need to spend to reach zero?
Yes, yeah, exactly that. So the calculator will be, there'll be different approaches to it. So I mean, depending on whether it's an individual or a business or someone on the blockchain that wants to calculate the carbon footprint, there'll be like different modes and like settings based on that. Basically just to tailor it and make it as suitable as possible. And yeah, they'll go through it all, and it'll calculate all the carbon footprints, and it will return a a CO2 value in terms of like kilograms like emitted. And then what, again, part of our carbon balance service is that as us offering them into a financial conversion of the CO2 in terms of like fiat currencies. But the absolutely the aim is to accept ADA and zero citizen tokens, so that's our own native tokens as part of that as well.
Okay. So then, all right. So the reward system, I was really interested in this, and then so stake pool launch. Oh man. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit.
Okay.
So, all right. So with the net zero reward system, this was why I was asking earlier if we knew an exact percentage amount that would go from the mint into the portfolio and all that, because some of the mint will go into. Let's see if I can find it. Right here, it says the tokens will be utilized to offer cash back and the zero reward system. So how exactly is this going to be rewarded? It says with like with services and products. So
Yes.
what kind of products could be offered, I guess?
Yeah, so I mean, as I sort of alluded to earlier, it's any zero carbon products and services that mean that CO2 has been avoided from being emitted. So, like I said, we're looking at there. If you install solar panels on your home, so you're not using, so you're using some renewable energy. If you use 100% renewable energy provider, if you install like an EV charger in your home or have an EV car, obviously this is like things will scale up to in terms of like an EV car itself. But it's essentially anything that avoids carbon being emitted, and like I said, electric bikes, that's one as well. And it really is a case of, cross industry, there's zero carbon opportunities and solutions that are popping up sort of all over. So it's only growing as well.
Right. These products seem a bit expensive though. How would those be, like given over to NFT holders, such as like even like a charging station seems like quite an expensive thing to offer a holder.
Yeah. So apologies if there is some confusion with that. So the way in which it works is we'll partner with the companies that offer these products and services, and those that go and use or purchase the product or the service from the partner. There'll also be some like linkage between ourselves and the partner, where we, on the basis of them purchasing that, will give them a reward. So that'll be either in fiat, so like pounds and pennies or dollars, or zero citizen tokens, which is the main one that we're going to try and push as a reward. So that's how that reward system works. It's us rewarding them for doing their purchase. It's not a it's
okay. You're rewarding them for buying these things.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Gotcha. And then the token value. So you intend to support the value of these tokens by initially funding the token liquidity pool from some of the NFT funds.
Yep.
So how much of I guess maybe you still don't know that question either, but the amount of value from the NFT launch, how much will go into valuing these tokens?
Yeah, that is still sort of up in the air. It is, and yeah, I mean, we'll be looking maybe around 30, 40, 50,000 ADA, I guess, initially. And that's the sort of the approach we'll be taking, and we'll be looking to obviously get onto a DEX like MinSwap or whatever. But yeah, I mean, in terms of like I said, there's money from the NFT sales initially, but as an ongoing sort of like reinvestment, whenever people use our our carbon balance service from the calculator, then that's when we're sort of split the money those 3 ways. So like the planting of trees, a bit invested into our green investment portfolio, and then the other bit is the net zero reward system, where we're essentially just putting money into that, well, adding liquidity into the token pool. So,
Gotcha. And then for the airdrops, every quarter you'll be airdropping citizen holders with a large part of this being funded through. So so the airdrops, will these, I know that you're airdropping some tokens, but will you be airdropping any other NFTs or anything like that?
no, just tokens. That's the initial plan for now, and that's or we're sort of sticking with it as it is.
Gotcha. So I see the tokenomics down here, and I was just wondering as I was reading through it, I was like, well, if 2% went to seed investment and then development and commercial partnerships and all these other things like marketing, and you gave them these things in tokens, they would have to sell these and convert them into ADA to be able to pay their people in USD or Canadian dollars or whatever it may be. Is that going to devalue the tokens over time?
Yeah. So in terms of that, if this is quite an early sort of initial tokenomics proposal, but in terms of that, it would be a case of, for those that did go for that option, there'd be a sort of time frame that we'd sort of require them to not to hold on to them for, and then we'd have like first refusal as well to like purchase them back off of them. But in the end, in terms of the tokenomics as a whole, it is still under sort of review, and yeah, we are looking at sort of some of those things.
Okay. And so after the NFT happens, after the mint, where is the rest of the money going to be generated for the team to, keep making funds? Because, it sounds like you're offering a lot, but I'm just wondering where the other funds are going to continue to keep coming in through year after year.
Yeah, and that's where, obviously the more people that use our calculator, that use our carbon balance service, we'll obviously be taking a premium off of that to essentially pay for the team. And like I said, as money gets invested into the green investment portfolio, that's the sort of annual returns from that. Like if it's like between 5 and 15% from a wind farm, let's say, then it's those sort of annual returns. And obviously the more that we put in, the more it'll grow side things. So it is very much based on money coming as well. So there's the initial funding from like NFTs that we'll invest, but then it's recurring through the calculator.
Will there ever be another NFT sale maybe to help with some of those funds?
There's no plan for that. It's not something that's been in the pipeline or been mentioned at all. So it's not something we're looking at.
Okay. And then I skipped over the NFTs. These things are beautiful, by the way. Who is your artist? Who did you use for your art?
So they are actually AI generated.
Okay.
So we had 2 previous designs that we'd sort of developed before that through artists, and it just didn't fit our mission, our cause, and really like to sell the story of who we are and what we're trying to promote. And then someone mentioned about using AI images, and we had to go, and then it turned out that it works really well. So the team have been working pretty solidly on developing these 5,555 unique one-of-one NFTs. And yeah, they really showcase the effects of climate change and what the world could become should we choose to do nothing. But there are also some positive images to sort of reinforce that we can still make a difference, and we can still have like a positive outcome as well. But the idea is to push hard on the negative effects of it all.
Gotcha. So I'm trying to see where it mentioned, because it says you'll need to hold 5 NFTs for. Oh, I think that's below. All right, let me go to that part.
Sure.
Yes, the token sales. So for your round 1, you're going to need to hold 5 of these tokens, and there's going to be a minimum and a maximum limit for each purchase. Do you know? Do you have an idea of like what the maximum is going to be?
No, not as of yet. It's still quite early days in terms of tokenomics. We are still sort of looking into all that, so we don't have any sort of numbers to sort of give right now. But that's just the initial breakdown that we are looking at for that side of it.
Gotcha. And then let's see. Is there an estimate of how? Do you know how much? I guess we definitely don't know this, but each NFT getting the quarterly rewards. I wanted to know if there was an estimate of how much that will be in ADA when you convert it.
Yeah. Also, it's very
Yeah.
much a case of where we at in
All
terms of
good. I'm
money coming in and
asking
that.
too far down the line
Yeah, a
questions. All
little bit.
good.
Yeah. Well, good question still.
Do you know with the back to the green portfolio actually, do we know what companies that you want to invest in? Will that be a vote by the holders? How will that work?
Yeah, we're looking at how we can incorporate the NFT holders into the green investment portfolio. So that is still like under review for us, and like, what's the best way for us to. But also again steering clear of any sort of direct correlation in terms of like dividends and that side of it. Yeah, in terms of the companies, we're looking at different ones, but again, it does depend as well on how well we do with our NFT sales, and that means obviously what sort of and how much we're looking at investing as part of the green investment portfolio. But yeah, solar farm. There's a solar farm that we're looking at, and definitely a wind farm as well. That's got some decent returns on it.
Gotcha. There was a tweet. I want to find the tweet, but you have some postcards that you showed,
You do,
and
yeah.
I wanted to know what's the deal with the postcards? What's the difference between these postcards and these amazing AI generated arts?
So there's only 55 of these postcards, and obviously there's 5,555 of the NFTs, and the postcards are kind of like passes in a sense, really. So in terms of utility, there's mint utility to it. So you get one NFT for free as part of it, and you can mint two NFTs at 25% discount. You also get access to the Zero Citizen token initial token offering, and you'll also be given 50 ADA worth of Zero Citizen tokens as well.
Nice.
And then in terms of like the general utility, there's a raffle as part of the volume, or the volume's not sitting at anything right now. You get OG perks and yeah, a few like early access sort of alpha sort of phase access. Yeah.
Nice. So these essentially will count as like 5 NFTs, so that it'll give you access to that first phase of the coin offering.
Yeah. So it'll, yeah, exactly that.
Awesome. I think these cards look pretty cool with a
Thank
little
you.
polar bear. Is there other cards, or is it this polar bear?
Yeah, no, there's 5 of them. So there's the polar bear. There's and that's obviously showing like melting glaciers, etc. There's a koala bear, which demonstrates like forest fires. There you go. Yeah, you can see in there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Oh, these are cool.
yeah, and they all essentially demonstrate an effect of climate change, whether it's droughts, forest fires, melted glaciers,
Yeah, actually, I kind of skipped over that. What is your like your passion, your motivation for, net zero? Did you kind of grow up and just kind of had like a passion for animals and the environment and stuff?
I mean, I've always had a sort of interest, but it was really I was part of a startup for about 6 years, and it went well, and I'd sort of said I wouldn't do anything again unless it was going to be for something for like a good cause. And initially, I was looking at how could we sort of play a part in terms of the ocean and the plastics, and and then I thought about a more generalistic, a wider approach to like net zero essentially and climate change. And then for me, it was really a case of all you sort of hear about in the news and you see and you read is our dependencies and our reliance on governments to do something, and then big corporations make some sort of pledge and everyone's supposed to clap and applaud and say well done to them, and it's really a case of what about the masses? What about the individuals? What about the small, medium enterprises? Because SMEs make up for 90% of global companies, and then especially as well the blockchain. That's sort of it seems to be getting tarnished with this brush as well. That NFTs are bad, and what the blockchains are doing. And okay, and it's fair enough for some side of things, because the Bitcoin energy emissions is more than the Argentina energy emissions as well, which was highlighted last year, and that's a sort of fair point there. But I think there's in terms of if we can make a difference on the Cardano blockchain in supporting projects and state pool operators to become carbon neutral, then that's helping Cardano to become and make its way towards a environmentally friendly blockchain.
Gotcha. And when you're trying to become like accredited essentially, so that when people have your stamp of approval, they get, I don't know, let's say like some sort of write-off or some sort of like a credit for whatever that they're doing with you. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So there's a couple of different companies that we're looking at for that accreditation. One's the International Carbon Registry, and the other one's Vera. So two different companies. But essentially everything that we're doing, want to sort of demonstrate that we're fully accredited, that everything's going to be like fully transparent. So whoever uses the carbon balance service can see exactly where all the funds are going and how it's all spent. So it's very much a case of making sure we're not greenwashing. Everything's done like prim and proper. Yeah.
Gotcha. So how does all that work? Like, what do you need to prove to become accredited? Is it kind of like a long, difficult task?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a nutshell, yeah, it's going through like a lot of like methodologies and sort of demonstrating exactly how it all works in terms of like the sequestration, the avoidance, and it's a lot of like documentation to go through it, and it's fairly costly as well. So it's a lot of time and effort and money to get there. But it's like I said, we'd rather go that route as opposed to not and just doing it willy-nilly and doing it off our own backs. We want to show that we're doing it in accordance with something, and it's like verified standards as well.
Gotcha. All right, so let's go back over to the white paper. Boom. NFTs. Let's see, because I think we covered mostly everything that I wrote down for questions. Is there anything that you want to cover that maybe I didn't cover, or maybe I haven't gotten into it yet?
I think we've done quite well so far. I think covered most of the stuff. Cool. There's a bit of explanation there as to how the carbon emissions calculator will work and how the net zero reward system will work as well. But yeah.
Gotcha. Well, at this point, we can just get into the not so nitty gritty, but like, what do you like to invest in? What are some of your favorite NFTs? Do you have a favorite NFT project?
I don't know if I have a favorite exactly. I do like the utility side of things, and like Wild Tangs is a good example of that. And Ioda's Human, he's like a really solid dude that represents there you go, that represents Cardano well, and his project. And also, like I said, NFT seekers as well, and that'll be regardless of the delays that's happened and a bit of unfair sort of FUD for it. Will absolutely be minted that, because what they're offering in terms of the tools available to project developers, and that is brilliant. So
yeah, I appreciate that. I know NFT Seeker has been crazy the last few days. I mean, if anybody wants to ask any questions about that, you can, but ultimately it boils down to we didn't start early enough, and that's 100% our fault. No ifs, ands, or buts, no excuses. We apologize, and Miguel's working on it as we speak. So he's the sole dev at the moment. I mean, he's doing everything. So unfortunately, it is all on him at the moment. But we are going to be taking the funds from that mint and hiring on more devs. We also have a dev already in mind, and we plan on putting him through the Plutus Academy. So that'll help, with some of the future developments and stuff like that. But I mean, it always stinks to have any sort of delay. It kills the hype as far as momentum, and keeping momentum is very important for a mint. So we're all very aware of that, and we apologize. I think honestly, it will affect the floor price. I think that's pretty obvious. But I don't think it'll affect anything long term. Like, everything that we're building is still going to come. Everything that we have is still here. It didn't go anywhere. So hopefully we can just get past this, and we'll go out onto Twitter Spaces. We'll talk to the community. We'll talk about it as much as we have to get back on the right track. But I don't think we should ever have these sort of delays again. I'm definitely going to be speaking with the team and make sure like any sort of release, any sort of anything, let's do it like 4 weeks in advance and make sure it is perfect before even making an announcement, and then make an announcement, because I don't ever want to deal with this again.
I think you made a good point though, in that ultimately long-term value of it shouldn't be affected, and in terms of credibility as well, there's mistakes happen and mints don't always go as smoothly as possible, but at the end of the day it all boils down to what's being offered and who it is that's offering it. And I think the project's absolutely solid. I think the people are as well, and the product is. So when you got all those three combined, you can't go wrong. So
yeah. Do you mint and flip at all? Are you flipper mentality? Do you have any of that game in you?
Not really. I just tend to hold on to them. I don't do it very well. I'm just a bit of a hodler. But I've bought into a few different metaverses, and again, this is also part of the bigger picture for Zero Citizen, and what sort of place we can have in there in the future. But I've flipped a couple, but I'm definitely not good at
it. It's hard because the NFTs that are good flips are a lot of the times good long term as well. Yeah. So, but on the other hand, there's a lot of NFT projects that are only good for the first hour, and then they tank. So I think it's always a good idea to mint a few, sell a few to make your money back, and then if you truly believe, just hold or buy the dip, whatever it may be.
Yeah,
that's kind of the flipper's lifestyle.
I bought some Unbothered Wolves, but a little bit at the higher end. So I'm just waiting / hoping for them to go back up a little bit.
Yeah, I noticed. I saw when they minted, they were at like almost 200 or 250 or something.
Yeah.
And then shortly after, they dropped down to like 110, bounced up to like 160, 170 again. And I was like, I missed the dip. And now it's all the way back down to, I think it was 90 this morning. Now it's back to 100. So
yeah,
crazy up and downs with it.
It is, but it's still above floor price. So it's still obviously doing well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I think about it from the perspective of the people who bought a lot of the mint passes though, because those were very expensive to mint 10. So if you bought towards the high of those mint passes and then minted 10, you're probably break even maybe.
Yeah, I think if you sold right at the top, you'd have done okay. But yeah, right now it's hit and miss.
So when you said you bought a few metaverse projects, are you talking about Cornucopias, Pavia?
Yep, them. Yeah, pretty much. Virtua, I think they're pretty exciting. Although and I think more so just because they clearly have a bit more money already behind them, and some of the partnerships like with Williams F1, Kevin Hart. There's a bit of hype that goes with that, and yeah, they're clearly quite flush with cash. So I'm excited to see what they're going to do with it, and but likewise with Cornucopias, I think they've got some like really, really solid, sort of aesthetically it looks brilliant. So it's really a case of I think within Cardano itself, I don't see any reason why there can't be more than one that flourishes and takes off properly. But it's partly going to be down to who gets there first, and it's got to be solid as well.
Yeah, that it blew my mind. Like Pavia having first mover advantage, and then it just kind of went away. Like they're doing a lot of cool things now, but there was like a 2 to 3 month period where people were just like Pavia and just like scuffing at it and like not really giving it a shot.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
But I said they were sort of first in the scene. They made, in terms of volume, is crazy amounts. But I just think in terms of the marketing side of it, there's not enough regular updates that are showcasing exactly what the product's going to be and how it's all going to look. And I think that's probably where they're sort of falling foul a little bit. I know Cornucopias pretty much go to most of the like CNFT cons and always have the games out for people to play. So I think that's what they're doing right.
Yeah, marketing is definitely one of the tougher things. How are you guys finding marketing? Because I know you're going to use some of your funds for marketing, but before that, are you guys just kind of doing it all your own and your own Twitters and stuff like that?
Pretty much, yeah. We are looking at like certain partnerships as well, but yeah, largely it's sort of off our own back and sort of through our own channels and sort of pushing it that way. So yeah, we're doing more stuff now, like in terms of like spaces and this. So
Yeah.
so yeah, we're trying to get sort of the awareness out there of what we're doing and what our plans are.
Do you guys have like a strategy, like at least twice a week we need this many, or once a week we at least need to do this? Do you have anything like that kind of going through your head?
Yeah. So we've got like a sort of, I guess, like a loose template for that. So like what we're aiming for, and sort of like a sort of structured sort of roadmap for up until mint. Yeah.
How has it been with people like joining you? Has it been kind of like a steady like 50 people here and there, then maybe like all at once like 1,000, and then kind of like steady again?
We had a big, well, quite a decent surge. I guess from like 400, it's sort of quite a big jump in it. It's all been like very natural in terms of like the growth side of it, in terms of Twitter as well. So we're only sat at about 2.4k for Twitter and 1.2k or so for Discord. But it's been, yeah, we find we sort of jump up and then we sort of like hover and we'll sort of move again, and yeah, it's a bit hit and miss.
Yeah, I realized I didn't cover the website, so let's go over that for a second.
Sure.
Anything cool on the website that I should definitely cover?
I'm not too sure.
This is a cool little video.
Yes, yeah, that was what we sort of launched with. I mean, we're going to be pushing out a new one soon. And in terms of website as well, we are going to be revamping the website because it is very blockchain focused. And, what we're doing in terms of, talking with partners outside, potential partners outside in the real world, like side of things. That's some of the feedback that we've got is very sort of blockchain focused. And, in terms of the net zero reward system, that was only going to be zero citizen tokens that we'd offer to those end users of the zero carbon products and services. But what we found is that, whilst we're trying to introduce this brand new thing to potential partners and like showcase what we're doing, that was one hurdle. And then the fact that we're on the blockchain was like another big hurdle. And probably the biggest hurdle is blockchain and people not willing to sort of venture out into it. So that's why we now also are going to be offering fiat as well as cryptocurrency as a payment.
Gotcha. And I see it here, like why it's important for net zero and stuff. And I always try to do devil's advocate. So what do you say to the people who don't believe in global warming or whatever, don't think it's important?
Check out the science. I mean, it really is a case of that. I mean, we're breaking records sort of left, right, and center. Like for 1,000 years, there's some figures. The CO2 parts per million didn't go over, I think it's like 300. It kept floating right between 180 and 300. And then in this sort of like industrial revolution side of it, it just went beyond that, and it's still going up now. So there's certain things that you can sort of see like very easily. In terms of, like I said, breaking records in the UK, we smashed our record this year in terms of like hottest temperature. And we're seeing like massive, devastating floods like more frequently. Early in the year, there's a big one in Pakistan where there's several dead, like thousands dead. And like similarly, very recently in the Philippines as well, where a few of our mods are from, that was sort of devastated as well by flooding. So, it's being showcased more now, which is obviously a really good and important thing. But we are very much in the grand old scheme of things dependent on what the world leaders do. And obviously COP27 is happening right now, and it's a case of really hoping that they get those together and come out with something that's like really solid in terms of legislation and driving it properly and with proper timeframes and funding for it, which has sort of been lacking so far.
Yeah, I mean, I see some of these things and you see, maybe the videos are a bit dramatic, but it's to try to capture your attention,
Yeah,
because people aren't paying attention to it. And when you finally do kind of like take a minute to look at it, it is pretty scary to look at.
yeah,
And, I appreciate all the projects that are trying to take this seriously and are actually having like a broader picture at life rather than, how can I make you some money real quick so you're not in debt tomorrow? It's like, well, how can I give you a piece of land that you can live on so that it doesn't matter, you can still live? Like
yeah,
that's a way
yeah,
bigger and more important issue. And
exactly.
I just wonder though, like what is the best way to fix it? Like you're doing what you can because this and it's great. This is
Yeah,
what you can make a difference on. And if you become accredited, then you can incentivize NFT projects to do this and other companies to do this, which is a much bigger impact than just yourself.
yeah.
But let's take you out of the equation. What is the biggest thing that we can do to kind of change things?
I think it's you know taking us out of it, but I think it really does require a big voice, really. And you have like individual voices, Greta Thunberg and Sir David Attenborough. Those people that really do champion it and do a good job at it. But it requires the masses, really, I think, and that's something that I definitely identified early on is to do this and what we're doing. We could very easily do this not on the blockchain, but a big part of what we're doing requires a community, and it's not a cult or anything like that, but it's a collection of people with similar mindsets, and some more than others are bothered about global warming and climate change. And I think it is just a case of the more we can have collectives and movements like what we're, I suppose, trying to do, the sort of louder our voices become, and the more we can demand from our governments and from big corporations. Because if we can say, look, we're doing our part, you're out there kicking out all these emissions, it really does sort of give us a better voice in it all, I guess.
Yeah, I think about the movie like The Day After Tomorrow with all of
Yeah,
the icebergs come in and all of that crazy stuff happening. And there's also I don't know if it's actually proven, but it seems cyclical that we'll kind of have a maybe what's the word, like apocalyptic sort of scenario where most of the human beings die or we go underground or whatever we have to do to survive, and then
yeah.
maybe we survive and resurface or whatever kind of conspiracy theories you want. I know there's some people that still think there's like ancient civilizations that live inside of like mountains in the North Pole and stuff that are from apocalypse before and are different types of whatever. But I don't know. Is it gonna be cyclical again? Is there no way that we can fix it due to human nature being greedy, not paying attention to what's needed to be paid attention to?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I mean, it's a pessimistic view. I'm sorry, but
No, and it's absolutely relevant. In terms of like the emission side of it, I think China, and this isn't me sort of hating on China, but they are way ahead in terms of how much they're emitting more than everyone else. It's scary. It's like 26%, I think it is. And then likewise between like USA follow them, and then the EU follow them, and between those three like sort of groups, they count for 46% or so of emissions, which is just staggering. But in terms of what you're saying, then it's not far fetched, because what climate change is going to do as well is make certain countries and environments inhospitable, which means that the food isn't going to be available, the water won't be available. It'd just be almost unbearable to live, and people will want to move somewhere. And this is where you're talking about mass migration. It's where you're talking about wars being started over sort of territories and wanting to have a bit of the good stuff over there. And it's when you think about the actual effects and that side of it, yeah, like in terms of like war and security, that's like a massive part of this as well.
Yeah, I think about, and I see B-Dog saying Smooth Yeti, so we'll cover that in a sec. But I know there's also the argument for when people go to electric, right? They say that this is more eco-friendly, but to create a lot of these electric devices, they do need to burn, fossil fuels to create, the engines that create these, to create the power plants that create these, all those sorts of things. So is it even possible to actually, you know, eventually get to where electricity is being produced maybe by electricity? Is that possible?
Yeah, I think it just stems down from, you know, just working towards that sustainability from the bottom up. Like I said, when in terms of mining, you know, for in terms of like the chips and everything like that, you know, everything needs to be sustainable, and that's where you got to sort of make sure you're covering your basis, and you know, that's where sort of Tesla need to make sure that it is a massive positive, and we do need to be moving towards electric transportation and as a whole. But yeah, you can't just forget about how you're getting there. Right. The whole process has to be sustainable, and if you do have to affect the environment, then it's a case of balancing that, and so yeah.
Because even if we get there, we already are seeing brownouts in California and other countries, you know, so we're going to need to create more electricity. And the most common way that we do that so far that everybody's agreed on is by burning fossil fuels.
Yeah.
And sure, we have like wind turbines, but then people are like, it kills the wildlife. And then we have dams, but then that kills the wildlife. And so, you know, what I've been thinking about more and more, and I even invested into some of it, is going nuclear. And nuclear energy is actually very like eco-friendly, right? It doesn't have a strong pollution rate, right? And you know, so people are starting to become more in favor of that. But what is your opinion on nuclear energy?
I think is an option for, like I said, clean energy, and I think there's a few ways that we can do it, and solar energy will and has to become one of the primary ones, but absolutely nuclear energy I think has to be considered and definitely used. And in terms of like waste management, you know, you could do a lot better than incineration. You know, there's processes called like gasification where it's all done a lot cleaner, and you know, the emissions wise it's so much better. So you know, it's a case of just investing in the right infrastructure and the right technology, and overall just sort of reducing that. But yeah, for me, I think nuclear has to come into it as well.
Yeah, I know the biggest thing with nuclear is like, well, look at Chernobyl and look at this, and those events are horrible, absolutely. Yeah. But I really think if you look into it, it's because of the neglect that they did during the time that they had one of them was like a flood or something. I don't know which one, but there was like a flood that came in and caused it. But that one should have been shut down, and I'm butchering the dates, but something like 15 years before it actually exploded because it was deemed unsafe. But they continued to want to use it because it was making them money. Yeah. So again, greed is like over and over turning out to be the downfall of man.
Yeah. I couldn't put it better myself. Yeah, that's it. That is it.
Yeah.
I think. Well, I mean, I don't know if you've seen the TV series Chernobyl.
I haven't.
No, it is absolutely fantastic. But yeah, it does showcase, you know, how neglect and I just say mismanagement does come into it, and it's also why we've not seen, you know, recurring incidents. Like it's so infrequent, it's so rare, because everyone's aware of you know what can happen, the what ifs, and you know, as bad as Chernobyl was, it's served to sort of remind people that, you know, this isn't to be messed with. You've got to do it properly. So I think that's sometimes you've got to learn from those sort of failures, haven't you?
Well, I just think, unfortunately, it didn't really teach people that we need to be, you know, more disciplined. It just told people like, oh, let's just run away from nuclear energy altogether. And that's the problem. It's like, that wasn't the problem, really.
No, that's not the lesson to learn from that.
Yeah. So, yeah, I was watching this dude, and it said something like 10 years ago, the percentage of people who were for nuclear energy was 33%. And now 10 years later, it's 66%. So in a very short period of time, we have increased the amount of people who are for nuclear energy. And I think that's the right step. And I just hope that it continues to go into that direction.
Yeah. I think a lot of the surveys and you know, IOG, I sort of mentioned this, they did a survey for their SPOs as well. And this was sort of like November last year. And they had about 600 of sort of 3,000 SPOs that returned the survey. And there's some like really, really good data from there as well. And like on average, about sort of like 60% are worried or very worried about climate change. And it really sort of highlighted a lot of things like technically, like how many using renewable energy, what sort of like kilowattage is being used, but also, like I said, the emotional side of it, and where they thought Cardano should be in like a year from now in terms of how environmentally friendly it should be, and then also sort of 5 years from now, and looking at, there's more realism in terms of like a year from now, but like 5 years from now, there's a lot of expectation that IOG ensure that Cardano becomes environmentally friendly. There's a high expectation of it, and that is also something that we've been in contact with the community manager from there, so Ben O'Hanlon, and I just created a report off the back of this survey that was created, and just made some suggestions in terms of how I thought they could make a bit of a difference, and also where Zero Citizen could come into it as well. But I think they are aware, and I do think they'll be looking at Cardano becoming environmentally friendly. It's just a matter of when, as it is with all this, really.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know, I see you, B-Dog. He wanted to go over Smooth Yetis, or maybe he was just saying Smooth Yetis because of the day after tomorrow. I don't know. But we can go look at Smooth Yetis. I know they had their radioactive mint. Did you see those?
Yes, yeah, I did. Yeah, I've not minted any though.
Yeah, the floor on these, oh man, like just a few months ago was up to like 300 or 420 or something. It was really high.
Yeah,
and so it's disappointing to see some of these projects not doing so well. But let's see what their radioactives look like. Actually, haven't checked out too many of these. So this is interesting that they're basically the same floor, a little bit cheaper. I don't know what utility they give, to be honest. Do you know?
No, I don't know. No, but I know when I sort of started looking at Cardano NFTs, sort of early in the year, really, like very early in the year. These were one of the Smooth Yeti Mountain Club were one of the sort of main ones, really. So I'm surprised to see them as low as they are.
Yeah, they were popping off for a while. There's another few projects. Wait, yeah. Oh, it was the day after tomorrow reference. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that's what we're all gonna look like after the day after tomorrow. We're just gonna be a bunch of Smooth Yetis just walking around.
That's what survival looks like. Yeah.
We'll be on the blockchain and in real life. Yeah. What am I looking forward to? We got Bad Fox coming up on the 11th. Are you interested in any Bad Foxes?
Yes. Yeah. Potentially gonna look into that one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's up. Ben's got the motorcycles coming, and we actually gave away a Bad Fox yesterday inside of Seeker. And today, nice. You know what? We'll just go do a small little Seeker shill real quick. It's this is for everybody's benefit too, by the way. This is crazy. So yesterday in the team chat, I was just like, yeah, let me get out of the team chat. We were talking about games, and I was like, let me host a few games while people are waiting for the delays, because I feel bad making everybody wait for nothing. Let's like give something away. And Miguel was like, here, I'm gonna send you some money, just like buy whatever you think is fine. And I was like, all right. And he's like, 2K ADA sent. And I was like, 2K ADA, just like that. And he's like, yeah, like I feel bad, like just go whatever you think, man. Do whatever you think. I trust you. And I was like, I know exactly what I'm buying. And instantly I was like, I'm buying a GC Clay, which I think was one of the team's idea too. And I was like, hell yeah, because Clay Nation is my favorite project. So here's the GC Clay inside of Rumble Royale. And this one right here, I think looks pretty cool. But there's 2,740 people for this Rumble. This is insane.
It's mad.
It's pretty massive. It's gonna start whenever the mint starts. So that should be in what we said 48 hours yesterday. So tomorrow sometime. And yeah, I mean, look, it's a free Clay. I think just go over there, just click in there. It's highly unlikely you win, but yeah, we gave away a Bad Fox yesterday and a Mutant Toad. So yeah, so about 2,000 ADA.
I think as far as apologies go, it's done okay.
Yeah, he's trying. Yeah, poor Seeker. We tried so hard, and then I don't even know what it was. The test mint went so well, and then just converting over from the test mint to the main mint, there were just issues. And I'm not a dev, so I can't even really speak on it. But sure. Miguel's, he's just doing what he can, and I just wish him the best.
Yeah. Likewise.
Yep. So yeah, everybody go over to Seeker, go join Rumble, and you got a 1 in 2,700 chance. But yeah, we gave away some mutant toads too because they also announced mutants. They announced you can burn any like combination. It can be a croc and a toad. It can be a toad and a mouse. It can be a croc and a mouse, and some mutant coins. So you can check out the collections, and everything's kind of evened out now because of that. So you can see, everything's around that 870. But the toads yesterday, they were at 750, while all of these are at 8 something. So I kind of got a deal on that toad that I gave away.
Yeah, you've done well.
Yeah.
It's a good marketing sort of tactic from them as well to sort of do it as either of them as opposed to like just one. So that's good. Smart.
Yeah, I really like that. I think that the tokens are going to go even crazier. Let's check out MinSwap. And you guys plan on being on MinSwap too, right?
Yeah, one of those. But for me, MinSwap will be our sort of target. Yeah.
MinSwap, Muesli, Sunday. One of those. So let's go check it out. Trade mutant. How are they doing? I don't like it when it does this. I don't know why it does it, but every time I change it, sometimes it updates. Let's see. The Bad Fox MC skins are fire. Yeah, we'll go check some of those out. Come on, mutant. Well, I'm not sure why it's doing this. Yeah. So maybe we'll have to bypass it. Oh, well, here's a daily. This works. So this is actually right where I bought it. I bought it at 1.31, so it's just barely higher.
Nice.
Yeah. It's, man, I'm always kicking myself for not selling at the top, just like everybody else. But
I think you'd be no different to anybody else there. It's always a story.
It's all the greed, man. I'm telling you, it's that greed.
Yeah, it's gonna go higher, honestly.
It was like, there were so many more announcements to come out, and they were talking about their mint and how you had to use the tokens, and I was like, man, it's gonna keep going. Like, the announcement just came out, and then no, I guess it had a little dip, but the whole market's actually having a dip. Crypto in general, from the whole FTX and Binance shenanigans.
Yeah, it did seem like it was going to be a little bit of a dead cat bounce as well from the other day, last week, when it sort of peaked really quickly, and then as it obviously has it's sort of fallen again. But there's a couple other bits in terms of the SEC that I saw someone post as well, for library. I think it was like on Ethereum maybe, but there's a court ruling against them, and they were seen as a security, which is obviously what people are not wanting to see. But there's bits going around in the space at the minute, and Yacht Club, Bored Ape Yacht Club, I think they're still battling out with the SEC as well, if I'm not mistaken.
That stuff is so frustrating. Like, they really need to get together. Like, I don't know. I think some massive people from the crypto space and the NFT space should get together with the SEC and just be able to talk it out, because this, like, classifying things as old, ways that they classified things, this is a new era. It shouldn't be this way, and there's reasons why it'll affect things negatively if they do. So I really hope that they can kind of find a middle ground.
100%. Yeah. And I think from what I see on social media and everything, like Charles Hoskinson does a really good job at trying to sort of lobby and trying to sort of get the point across. And there was that piece from maybe a couple of months ago when he went to speak to was it Congress or a section of them, and you spoke brilliantly. And we just need more people doing that, really.
Yeah, Charles is an amazing person. He knows what to speak on because he's a really smart guy, and he knows how to speak on it because he's a really smart guy.
It bodes well to be smart.
Yeah, Charles, we lucked out with Charles. I mean, I don't think there's anything necessarily like wrong with Vitalik or whatever, but I would much rather like have a beer with Charles. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all I'm saying.
I dare say that there'd be people that, with Charles' experience, that would be a selling point as well for having come to Cardano or moving to Cardano, and his experience from Ethereum and what he's doing now, and the approach that what IOG are taking, is a bit slower, but it's far more methodical and, research driven. And I think that, as you can see with Solana and how often it crashes, that seems to be
Yeah.
the best way. So
Yeah, Solana, that's the only thing killing Solana, which it's a big thing. But,
yeah,
like if they didn't crash, I don't know, there wouldn't be a whole lot of things to like argue back and forth with, when
yeah,
Solana gives Cardano crap for developing slow. We couldn't be like, well, at least we don't crash. Like, what? I don't know what we would have to retaliate with,
exactly. Yeah,
I just,
it's a bit too easy sometimes.
yeah, I mean, that's how they use easy, fuel to fight us, so we use easy fuel to fight back. And
Yeah.
in all honesty, I think all arguments that happen that way are a bit just on the shallow end. It's like, let's just not use like the easy bait, but
Yeah,
it's easy, so that's why people do it.
I think it's one of them where, at the end of the day, if we see failures like we did with Luna, in the past, it really is a case of it's bad for everyone. It's not just bad for those that are invested in them. Like any sort of bad publicity like that, and you have there's certain authorities like the SEC in America that want to clamp down on it, and whether they are doing it because they care about us really deeply and they don't want us to lose our money, or whether it's an excuse for them to go in and get a piece of the pie. I mean, that's probably more my sort of mindset, but yeah, ultimately, the more of us that succeed, the better we all are, better off. So that's my thoughts on it anyway.
Yeah, I just kind of had a thought too, and I wonder if using blockchain transactions for banking, I wonder if that is less carbon emissions than the current banking online that we use now.
I mean, I couldn't really hedge that much of a guess, but
yeah, no, all good.
I'd like to think so.
Yeah,
Especially with
right?
with proof of stake being what it is. I mean, it surely must be. But yeah,
because if so, I mean, yeah, there we go. Another little benefactor to being on crypto.
Yep.
But yeah, it looks like all of the DeFi coins are taking a bit of a hit right now. They're reaching their most recent lows again. Looks like Clay, Yumi, and Mutant all kind of dipping pretty hard right now. So not what you want to see, but it's a part of it, I think we were a bit too bullish a few weeks ago with everything, and now there's just a little bit of bad news, and bullishness followed by bad news is going to equal a lot of bearishness.
Yes, pretty much.
There's a lot of profits on the table to take.
There is, yeah, and it's just a case of when's the bottom going to be the bottom, and that's that as it always is. But it's a very uncertain world right now, just in general. I think in terms of what's going on in Ukraine, in general, it's a bit of a financial crisis overall, and it's not a great position to be in. And personally, I don't feel very bullish right now, but I think when we do come out the other side, without a doubt, I think we'll be people are waiting, and it'll just go, and it'll be better than before, as it tends to be.
Yeah, I've been watching. What was it? The Fed meeting where he was speaking about rates, right? When the Fed decision happened, this is where I lost a lot of money. I was thinking, I was like, we have to be bearish, like we crash down based off the charts, we bounce back up, there's a Fed decision, and we crash, and it's been like that about 3 to 4 times in a row.
Yeah.
And then this one happened, and it was the first time I started thinking a little bit of bad stuff in my head. I was like, you know what, maybe we could be bullish, this and that and this and that. And then I was watching the Fed speak, and the announcement came out that we raised by 0.75 again, which is 4 in a row. It only caused 2 to crash in 08, so it's kind of like, why haven't we yet?
Yeah.
Obviously it was a bit bigger and with retail and not globally, but still, like, globally should be a bigger issue, I would think. But regardless, maybe when it's happening to everybody kind of joins in together and holds hands to try to, prevent the ship from sinking. That's kind of what it feels like. But they said some things during the Fed meeting that I didn't think that they were going to say. And they said something like, we are not necessarily going to pivot yet, but we will either pivot or think about pivoting next quarter or the quarter after. And they haven't really mentioned anything like that before. So I saw that as pretty bullish. However, what they said negatively was that they would rather over tighten because they can always, and I'm paraphrasing, they can always print more money.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
that pissed off a lot of people. People were like, oh, so you're just going to screw us in the short time and then print more money like you always do. Great. All right. So, and yeah, I got clapped on my calls on that day, but it's all good. You live and you learn. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's after hearing that, I just wasn't fully bearish because I was like, they haven't talked about pivoting. And even if it isn't next quarter, right? So sure, this quarter could be bad. That's fine. But the next quarter, if they say, okay, we're going to raise by 0.5 or 0.7 even again, which I don't know if they do it again. That'd be crazy. 5 in a row. But we're already at 4, so why not?
Yeah. I mean, might as well.
But that verbiage of either next quarter, the next quarter, my mind's starting to think at some point we really are getting ready to kind of turn around, at least from the Fed's point of view. So I don't know. We'll have to see. I just in my gut, I no longer am that bearish. So it's hard for me to short this market, which is neglecting me from getting some money.
I think it's in terms of like Cardano as well. I saw JPG Store announce a couple of weeks ago when there's like a mini bull run that in terms of volume would hit the largest volume ever, which was fantastic, obviously for Cardano. And I think as we see more of those little bull runs, that's when you can start thinking, okay, maybe start thinking a bit more positive. But I mean, I think for me, either late next year or early 2024 will be when we start going, I think. But I hope it is sooner. I do, obviously.
Yeah, the thing is, we're not going to stop raising rates probably until 2023, like at the end, maybe Q4, maybe. Yeah. So rates aren't going anywhere. But the like verbiage and how the Fed is like treating the market, that could start to get softer. And that's when I could see, people starting to find a bottom in the market, people starting to average in, people starting to get comfortable again. And I think maybe we have already bottomed, I think it's a possibility. I'm not putting it all on that possibility, but I think, yeah, definitely not. But I've been following the markets pretty religiously for like 3 years now. And I don't know. When I hear things like this, it makes me bullish. It like gives me a tad bit of hope.
Yeah.
So I'm really hoping. But like you said, that much volume coming into Cardano, and this was during a time of nearly peak bullishness or bearishness. So
yeah.
I was just like, this makes no sense. Like, what's happening? Are we really just like about to decouple from the market? Are we about to just go parabolic in crypto and say, screw it to the crash,
Yeah.
Because that was a lot of people's mindset when they bought crypto before the crash. They were saying, oh, I'll hedge the US dollar with crypto and I'll take some money out of my stocks or whatever. But both of them crashed. And if anything, crypto crashed even harder. So if you did take it out of stocks and put it into crypto, you actually got clapped just as hard, if not harder.
Yeah. Definitely.
So it's an interesting time to see Cardano specifically, and it's nearly only Cardano. Other NFTs haven't really gotten this crazy boom.
Yeah, and it fell about the same time as the CNFT Con, and
that's
quite
true
a few.
Too.
Yeah, quite a few from the ETH space as well seem to sort of hover around Cardano at that time as well. But I think I read somewhere that the majority of the volume came from old wallets, so like not people who've just like started up, but it's like people coming back. So yeah,
that's cool to see.
Yeah, positive.
Okay, we got positive lurkers in the chat basically.
yeah, they're just waiting.
But B-Dog says, what tokens am I bullish on long term? Mutant makes the most sense to me because they're going to be having their drop pretty soon, and the price is now where I bought it. So I think it'd be a decent time that I would think about starting to buy some. Clay, obviously, Clay is the project I believe in the most in Cardano in general. It's just my favorite project. I do own 3 regular Clays, 1 GC, and 6 lands, maybe 7 lands now. Various other Clay things. I bought a lot of Clay. So Clay is like what I'm just putting a lot of money in. Basically, I'm treating it like the S&P 500, regardless of whether that's smart or not. And the last one is Yumi. I really think Yumi, Clay, and Mutant, Society as well. Society, of course, but I kind of put Society at this point at like that, kind of like a no shit kind of like argument. Like society apes, they've let in so many people into the community that it's kind of in a breed of its own at the moment.
Yeah, definitely.
So
I think outside of the sort of NFT world, I think World Mobile Token seems to be one of the big ones, one of the main ones. But yeah, in terms of NFTs as well, what I will say is big fan of Ada Army. I think what they're doing is great in terms of like Peppermint. So obviously it's sort of same people that do the Peppermint minting service. I believe it's 10% of the funds that they get from that they basically send to the Ada Army holders. So that's like a big positive. But
yeah, that's pretty cool. Ada Army is always awesome. I love Crypto Heaps. I haven't spoken to him in a while, but Crypto Heaps and Peppers and everybody over there is just great people.
Yeah, definitely.
But what about you, B-Dog? What are you looking at? What are your favorite tokens, B-Dog? But yeah, we'll look at a few more NFTs, and then I actually have to go. But where were we? I think I went away from JPEG. There we go. But what do you think about Equine? Because I know Equine has like guilds and stuff coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, it's not really one that I've sort of delved into that much. I'll be honest with you. So
Gotcha.
yeah, I'm not too sure. How about yourself?
I went pretty strong on Equine the last few months. Actually, it'd be a little bit before that. Pretty much every video I would make, I would just call this like the most undervalued NFT. It was like that for months. And I just bought like 1 or 2, sometimes 3 every month. And I did that while they were in the 300 range. I think they were at like 265 was the lowest I got one. And the highest was like 350. And I have about 11 of them.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and I have about 4 or 5 jockeys because I actually think the jockeys may at some point catch up to the horses. And the reason for that being the jockeys can't breed. So you need the jockeys to ride the horses. Horses can breed. There's going to be a whole lot more horses than jockeys. So, and each jockey has their own personality. And this personality is steadfast. I don't know what all of them do, but they do things like if yours is in first, it helps you kind of keep your stamina. So maybe you stay in first longer.
Yeah.
There's some where it gives you a speed boost if you're middle of the pack. So it can help you stay in the head, ahead or like middle pack, at least in that range.
Yeah.
And then there's somewhere if you're in last place, you'll get a boost in your stamina and speed so that maybe you're no longer, in last place forever.
Right. Okay.
So there's going to be all sorts of pairings that you should do with I think there's 5, maybe 6 personalities. And it's going to determine, in my opinion, based off of the horses that you're racing against. So if you're racing against horses where, because the stats for each horse, by the way, I don't know how much you know about equine, but they have their own stats. So like speed, agility, endurance, acceleration, and stamina.
Yeah.
So if you can see I don't know how it's going to work for the races, if you'll be able to see who you're going up against before the match, but I hope you can, because if you can, then it allows for the strategy to be so much more intricate.
Yeah.
So like if you know that the speed of somebody is way faster than yours, you're not going to get the lead at first, just a fact, or acceleration, whatever it turns out to be in the game. So you're not going to want to pair yourself with a jockey who helps you keep the lead because you're never going to get it.
Sure.
Right.
And,
Right. So that's why I think these jockeys are really going to be important, because you're probably going to need a range of jockeys to kind of make your horse the best it can be.
Yeah. It does look very interesting, I have to say.
Yeah. The breeding for the horses is crazy. There's like Mendelian genetics or whatever it is. So, recessive dominant traits. And you can look at, I'll go back. You can look at all the different colors of the horses. So breeding certain color horses with other horses may result in not necessarily this color or that color, but a rarer color if you get both of the recessive, something like that.
Nice.
So yeah, and of course there's male and female, and the way that the males work is you can stud out your horse up to 5 times per month, and the females can only breed once per month, and the females will keep the horse, but the males will get the fees from breeding.
Yeah, makes sense. I guess that's typically how it is in the real world, isn't it? So
yeah, I would imagine it's something like that, some sort of written agreement.
Yeah, it is I like how in depth it is. I think it sort of bodes well for it. There's going to be lots of different facets to it. So yeah, very very interesting.
Yeah, they just created the stables, but the website wasn't working perfectly, so they had to take it down. I'm not sure if it's back up yet. I'll have to check their Discord, but after they fix that, the guilds are going to come, so you'll be able to create your own guild, and then it'll help you with stuff like breeding. You know, you'll be able to hit up people in your guild and be like, "Hey, I have this horse. I'm willing to offer you this for that," and it'll be a cool little community thing, kind of like if you joined a video game and had like an online, video game chat. And
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
just like looking for mage, whatever you type in.
I like it.
So yeah, Equine's always on my list to check out until they hit like 600, and then I'm like, okay, they're still on my list, but I'm no longer buying.
Oh, yeah. Wait for the dip.
Yep. Clay Nation actually down to 2,900. That is crazy. I always think Clay should be worth way more. That's just my opinion. Every time I see a pump, I'm like, it's still not good enough. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, I think it does surprise me that they are not top. I think they're one of the main features on Cardano, and it's what people often talk about as well when they talk about NFTs on Cardano. It's Clay Nation, and yeah, I'm surprised that it's not even about a third of what Ape Society is.
Yeah. What about you? Do you hold any clays?
I don't. It's. I mean, if I'd have gotten earlier, then I definitely would have done. But it's a little bit out of my price range.
Yeah.
As it is. But I mean, if it drops further, then I'll definitely look at trying to snipe one.
Maybe we can convince your community that clays are carbon neutral for the the portfolio.
That'd work well. That'd work well.
It'll be a good return, I promise. Financial advice, totally.
Yeah. Sure.
But yeah, clays. I don't know, man. I just think that with the FUD that we saw for what was it for Space Buds, they came back, right? Like the price didn't come back, but they were able to rebound and kind of stop the bleeding. And I agree with that. I think that changing the art, apologizing, being transparent, all those things. I mean, you're not the artist, you're the project developer. Might not be a way that you had any idea that they was stolen. So, that I don't think you deserve to be, chastised or punished for that. So
no, I mean, there's too much of the whole cancel culture in the world anyway. And, people make mistakes. This is obviously something that they weren't aware of. And, someone pointed it out and fair enough. And like you said, they took the action. And it's the same when, like I said, when mints don't go to plan, you don't just go, get your pitchforks out and go hunting after them. You just got to accept that as long as they are sort of apologetic to an extent and move on. Like what else can you do? You can't just go around canceling everyone as everyone seems to want to.
Yeah, that's the most frustrating part about the culture that we live in right now is there's so many people that are so quick to go to the extremes. Like, it's okay if you're upset. There's going to be somebody who upsets you, and that's completely fine. You're not right, and he's not right. Nobody's. Sure. It doesn't work like that. It's not so black and white.
Yeah.
But to like get out your pitchfork in a sense, like you're saying, and try to cancel somebody, it's a bit extreme. It really is.
100%.
Especially for all of the things that Alessandro's built. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, I know. Give him a break. When it's very, very obviously not intentional, and I said rightly, it was pointed out, but when someone's championed the space as they've done and built what they've built, and a lot of people's first introduction is Nami Wallet and subsequently like Space Buds and then Alessandro himself. So yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think Nami Wallet is still one of the best wallets we have, to be honest. That's just, it's worked so much better. Daedalus was my first wallet, and I loved Daedalus. It was really fast. I was able to mint nearly everything. Yoroi gave people issues, and other wallets gave people issues, and I was just over here like, no, everything's fine. But even still, now that I've done 200 transactions on that wallet, I have too many NFTs to count in that wallet. Now it's really, really slow. And I had to switch over to Nami, and I kind of keep a few Daedalus wallets as my like storage wallets, and I use Nami to basically mint and trade, and it's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, I'm with you there. It's just seamless, and it just works, doesn't it? And that's all you can ask really from anything like that, like a wallet. It's just
Yeah. But it does surprise me because there was FUD with Space Buds, and they're still higher than Clays, who I don't
Yeah,
believe had any FUD.
yeah, and that's why I just find it so surprising. And like I said, if it does go cheaper, but I think this should in reality be sort of floor, like absolute floor, and I can't see it going much lower than this. It's
Yeah.
yeah, madness.
I want to see it at like 5K. I just think that that's like a fair price right now, especially with Cardano dipping like it is. It's just like this is the best project, but I don't know. I'm repeating myself too much. I love Clays, but everything's seen a dip. I mean, even Ape Society, it peaked at 15K,
Yeah,
and 15K is a, probably not fair to say that it had halved in price because it was 15K for like 15 minutes,
yeah,
but still, I would say 10K to 9K was a pretty fair, high price, and now it's down to 7,400. And again, it's really hard to say this being a dip because just 3 and you're back to 79, and then just a few more, you're back to 86. I mean, the floor is really thin.
yeah, definitely, definitely, and that does bode well for them. But yeah, I mean, I do look forward to when volume in Cardano does keep hitting the records, and yeah, I think we'll start seeing these and like you said, Clay Nation sort of way beyond what they are now. But next bull one will be smashing it.
Yeah, I think right now is a pretty strong dip that we're getting, and it always happens after a lot of volume comes in. So, it's real nice when everything's pumping and everybody's telling you buy this, buy that, and the next day you're up 20%, 50% on everything, and then, next day it happens again and again and again. But during times like this is really when you should be thinking about buying into these projects, because then you can be up 400% at the end of that bull run that comes next time, rather than being up 50% or 100%.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's those projects as well that survive the winter that, or that build in the winter. They're the ones that, you look out for, that you see, they can survive the thick and thin, and they can get through the worst of it. And yeah, I completely agree. This is where you can sort of pick out your winners to a degree.
Yep. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I was going to cover today. So I guess I'm going to head it off now. But thank you so much, Ben, for coming by again.
Thank you also. Hugely appreciated.
Yep. And if anybody wants to check out any of Zero Citizens content, I have all of their socials in the description below. And remember to get outside, see your family, see your friends. We're here to make more money so that we can spend more time with them. Until next time, guys. Peace.
Cheers.